Hello, everyone. Welcome to SJS Writes. I'm Shawnee Smith, founder of SJS Writes. This evening, I am excited to introduce you to our guest, Jim Hanemaayer. Jim is an audiobook narrator and documentary storyteller with over 40 years of media experience. He has worked with Westwood One, NBC Radio, and CBS radio networks. Jim has been blessed with a natural, smooth, confident, and engaging voice with warm, deep tones. He continues to hone his skills by continually learning, studying, and working with great coaches and mentors to develop skills to serve his clients at the highest levels. Welcome, Jim, and thank you for joining us this evening.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Jim, who or what inspired you to become a voiceover professional?
I would have to say probably my dad. He was a minister, but he also had a radio program on three different local stations. And I used to travel with him when I was just a kid.
Mm.
And I would sit in the studio and he would say, "You've got to be really quiet." And I'd sit there for an hour or two while he did his thing. And I caught the bug.
Outstanding. So you modeled after your father as far as public speaking.
He walked me into a little local radio station in Virginia one day. I was in 7th grade. And he told the manager, "This is my son. He'll work for free if you'll train him." I'm like, "What?" But it was a blessing.
That's outstanding. Your very first internship at such a young age.
Yeah, exactly.
So did that internship become a job? Was that your first job as a voiceover professional?
Yeah, they eventually hired me maybe 8 or 9 months later.
Mm.
I was working there anyway, and they said, "Well, we ought to pay you." And back in the late 60s, early 70s, what was minimum wage? It was nothing. So I started, and then they would come in and they would hand me a script and say, "We need this commercial done for some business, and get in there and record it." Okay. So that's how it all started.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Thank you.
What has been your favorite voiceover project to date?
Oh boy, so many, and I've probably forgotten a lot of them. I'll never forget one time, it was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the agency there had a regional account for Dannon yogurt. And I showed up at their studio. It was winter, snowing, nice. And the girl who was supposed to come in and do the Dannon yogurt commercial she was stuck in weather. She couldn't come. So they looked at me and said, "Can you read this Dannon yogurt script?" So after about 20 different tries, and they're saying, emphasize this, go slower on that, which is normal. I got the job. And about a week later, the girl came in and they replaced my voice. But that was my claim to fame on Dannon yogurt.
What a way to start off. Dannon yogurt was very well known.
And, over the years, I've done some things for Delta Airlines and for Olive Garden, Honda, people like that.
So what voiceover project has been the most unique out of all your projects?
Oh, wow. Probably one that I'm working on at the moment. It is called Walking with God. And it's from a very astute pastor in the Chicago area. And he's got an urban church there. And we kind of connected, and he said, "I love your voice, and I want to take my notes and make an audiobook out of them." So we're going through his notes right now, and I'm recording chapter by chapter, and it's actually fairly easy work, but it's fun work because he's right on about so many things, and so I just have enjoyed working with him.
So you're becoming enriched as you work.
Exactly. I also have a YouTube channel where I read the Psalms. I do a different psalm every week. It's called Reading the Psalms.
Outstanding.
Yeah. And then, other audiobooks, like, for example, I'm working on now about it's a fiction, and I don't normally do fiction, but this one struck me because it's set in East Germany during the Cold War. And I had previously lived in Moscow and also Ukraine. And I used to, for NBC, I would travel all through the Eastern European region. So
Mhm.
I knew the setting, I knew the background, and I contacted that author and said, "Yeah, let's take a shot at it." So, like I said, I don't usually do fiction because I don't do a lot of different character voices, and there's the main character, and then there's three or four sub characters, and you got to be a little bit different on each of those, so it doesn't all sound like you're the same person.
That's good
Um,
to know because I know
yeah,
I've heard different audiobooks and the voices don't really vary. So that's a good point to make.
yeah. I mean, you go a little bit higher on a lady's voice, and maybe a little bit deeper on an older man's voice. You try to sound as young as you can at my age on a young person's voice. But my go-to on audiobooks is usually something on business or health. I'm currently not narrating a book on investing in the stock market, which is kind of cool.
It is.
Just
I
when,
know. I
just when
believe
you
in
think you can't learn anything, suddenly you're learning stuff.
I can believe it. I think that's timely now with the way the financial markets are going.
Hmm.
Really get that background information.
Another one I'm doing is on OSHA and bloodborne pathogens. There's a lot of tongue twisters in that one. I have to every 20 minutes run out to my living room where my main computer is with internet, and I get online and how do you pronounce this this
Mhm,
particular medical word? Then I run back in my studio's behind this wall.
mhm.
But I, for reasons if I don't want corruption or anything in the internet in my sound system, I do internet stuff out here and recording stuff in there. So I'll go back in now that I've learned a new term, and I'll narrate until I hit another term and I got to come back out and look it up.
So continual learning.
Exactly.
Jim, how has receiving coaching benefited you and your business?
Well, as they always say, you should always be learning, and that's so true. I'm in a couple of accountability groups right now where we practice with each other, and invariably I learn something. And then I've also got several different coaches that I meet with, some on a weekly basis, some on a monthly basis. And it's good because they'll point out something like, "Do you know you're sounding sing-songy on this?" "Oh, I didn't realize that. Try reading it a little more straight." And others, they'll go like, "That's too straight and monotone. Put some variety in." It depends on the script often.
Mm,
So, I mean, the coaching really has helped me a lot.
fantastic. What advice would you share with those who are interested in becoming a voiceover professional?
Well, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of work. It's not cheap. You see these things on the internet, that you can get started for, $100 or $200, and that's just, I'm sorry, that's a fabrication. Uh, I mean, I guess if you went outside and recorded something on your phone, you could call yourself a voice actor, but no one's going to buy that product with the wind sounding and dogs barking. You have to learn how to set up a studio in your home. Most recordings today are done in the home, surprisingly, and it's very common to have even a large agency call up and say, "We need you to record something this afternoon. Can you record it in your home studio? Get it over to us." And that home studio better be as soundproofed as possible. And your equipment better be as pristine as possible because if you send them something that's not good, you're not going to get paid and you get a bad reputation.
And I know that's costly. Reputation is everything.
But, a young person who wants to start out, the best advice I could give them is go find a closet, turn on a tape recorder, and read for 2 hours. Don't stop. And it's because that's what your life's going to be like. So at the end of the 2 hours, if you're sick and tired, maybe you ought to be looking for something else. But if you love that, maybe you've got the beginnings of something really nice.
Outstanding. Endurance matters.
Yes,
Sounds
it does. Yes.
like. Jim, what advice would you give to authors who are looking for a narration for their audiobook?
Call me. Go to my website. Um, and don't be afraid to audition 3 or 4 audiobook actors, professionals, because everyone has a different take. And for example, with business topics, I shine. I can get those jobs all day long. But somebody else may do it better, or somebody else may do a different genre like health or whatever a lot better than I could. So don't accept the first one that comes along. Keep them in mind if you like it, but interview 2 or 3 and then make your choice.
Sound advice.
One of the biggest mistakes I do run into is authors who have tried to record it themselves. And third or halfway through, they're calling, going, "Can you fix this?" Well, no, I can't fix it, but I can do it for you.
Jim, what current or upcoming projects or events would you like to share with the audience?
Because of some non disclosures, I can't tell everything, but probably the most interesting one that I'm working on at the moment would be how to invest in the stock market. It's already on Amazon. And of course, there's a lot of books on Amazon about how to invest in the stock market, but I think this is a really good one. So I'm doing the audiobook portion for it now.
Fantastic. Jim, how can our audience connect with you and book your services?
Well, they can go to my website, 5starvoice.com. That has my phone number. It has my email, jim@5starvoice.com. And it's just as easy as reaching out, and I'll respond in a timely manner, and we'll see if we can work together.
Sounds like a plan. I know after this interview, I will be sure I put your information in the description box of the YouTube video.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
It's good. Thank you so much for your time, Jim, and continued success.
And to you too. And I admire what you're doing with this podcast. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.